I think we need to guide ourselves in two things. Number one, amendment to the Constitution. If actually we are talking about even basic statute, a parliamentary statute, you cannot do it without the people. There is a provision in Article 10 on public participation on everything we do, including basic parliamentary laws. Even the ones that we are making at the county assemblies, you must subject it to the people. And I think what clarification needs to go out there is that when you're looking at amending the Constitution, you either amend it from the starting point being Parliament or the starting point being the people, what we call popular initiative, which is what Raila and Uhuru initiated, popular initiative. And there is a clear guideline on how you go about a popular initiative process. When it comes to amending through Parliament, it is still a process, but ultimately the process goes to the people. And I think there is this thing of when you amend through Parliament, you're not involving the people. That is totally not correct. At some point, at the point when it's necessary, because you must start with a bill. Even when you are yourself as a popular initiative, someone, Dennis Waweru and I think Junaid, came up with a bill that was subjected to the people as popular initiative. So even here, when talking about amending through Parliament or parliamentary initiative as provided for in Article 256, it is clear there is completely nothing wrong with that. And I think we need to stop being dishonest to Kenyans. We need to tell Kenyans, this is how you start amending the Constitution, but the process goes like this to the extent that ultimately the people make a decision. Remember, the things we are talking about are really weighty. The BBI process that we're talking about here was not dismissed because of the big things that we're talking about. There were two small issues, not small, but because the courts pronounced themselves on the same, involvement of the president. That was the big one. And secondly, amazingly, it was domiciling of constituencies, not creation of constituencies, but deciding that this constituency is going to be in Kiambu, in Muranga, which work the courts decided that is the work of IEBC. And by extension, public participation on where those constituencies should be in the first instance. Everything else in regard to BBI was okay. In fact, the appeals on everything else were allowed, other than those two. So I think this conversation must be had, but in an honest manner. And especially when you're on national television, we need to tell Kenyans that there was, even the president, the current president, was clear, even when he was in Bomas, this is not a bad thing. But there are things that we need to do, and we need to do them right. And I think that's the conversation that everyone is having. These positions that we are talking about, all these things that we are talking about, we need to do it, but the question is, now that everyone is saying we have all these issues, you have all these problems, can we chew and walk at the same time? Is that possible? And I think that's the conversation that we're going to have. Chewing means we need to work. A lot of things need to work. And we need, but can we also think about the inhibitants that are there in as far as our constitution and the laws that are in place when it comes to delivery of services to Kenyans? Are there issues there that needs to be dealt with? In terms of the discussion and the communication around it, I think the president has a lot of work, because him and his team were very clear that hatutaki kubadilisha katiba, kwanza tunataka kufanyia wa Kenya kazi. So now going back and having a conversation with Kenyans that we need to change this, I think he's doing that, and he'll have to do that so that Kenyans walk with him in this process. But in terms of the process, there is completely nothing wrong with starting the process in Parliament. Completely nothing wrong, but subjected to the people as provided for by the Constitution. There are only 3 articles, 255, 256, 257, on how to amend the Constitution. If something needs to be subjected to a referendum, it's going to be subjected to a referendum. If it doesn't need to be subjected to a referendum, and even the courts, when it came to the issue of the concussion, on whether this should be one question, should be, or this, the other one, they had a pronouncement on that. So all these things, what needs to happen out here, and especially now, is honesty amongst ourselves, as even the analysts, amongst the politicians, everyone, because we need some of these things to be done.